Yeah. Hey, did I get you? Did I get you? Are you gonna cancel me? So today, if you saw yesterday's video, which was about self-care, I mentioned that I wanted to talk about cancel culture at some point, and I figured, you know what? I need a video for, today. So let me go ahead and just talk about cancel culture, because cancel culture has been very interesting. And for those of you that don't know, I was actually canceled on TikTok for a little bit. Granted, it was very small, but I have so many opinions on being somebody that got bombarded by a bunch of people and had a pretty insane experience. But I do kind of want to talk about my original thoughts on cancel culture, how I see it today, and what my kind of like views on it are after kind of going through it, right? So originally, I was very on board with cancel culture. If you guys have seen, I've made a lot of call out videos because I think, it kind of sucks when you do see a bunch of injustice in the world and you know that the law isn't going to do anything about it and people with money are able to get away with whatever they want a majority of the time. And so cancel culture seemed like the one thing that actually could work to actually combat this lawlessness that feels like certain people are able to get away with. And it was cool for a while. And I obviously, I thought some of the best moments for it were calling out, people that were essaying people and stuff like that, because unfortunately, I have known too many women that have been through that, and the dudes always get away with it. And that pisses me off as a guy. I was somebody, I don't know if I ever mentioned this actually, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it. I might have mentioned it on stream, but I was dating a girl who was S8, the R word essentially. And that was one of the worst calls I've ever got. The next morning, just hearing messages of that. And unfortunately, at the time in our relationship, it was very toxic and we were always fighting, but you still don't ever want somebody that you love to go through that. So anyways, it sucked knowing that person was going to get away with it scot-free and I was just going to have to help this person kind of get through it. And, I've, like I said multiple times, I know other women that have been through this and it's a fucking shitty thing. And I see how some of them are able to, accept that happened and move on. Others are just destroyed by it, and they're never able to recover. And it just really sucks that these dudes are able to get away scot-free. And this, I'm just saying from personal experience, I know that men can be in the same situation. But anyways, what ends up happening is with cancel culture, it seemed like the way to call out these kind of people. And because there was even, everybody that knows that kind of stuff knows about the name Brock Turner. Brock Turner was some white dude that got caught, essaying somebody in the act and got away with it scot-free. I think he went to jail for 10 days or something really ridiculous. And everybody thought wow, okay, so there is no repercussions for people. Just some people just get away with shit. So cancel culture, when it first came up, it seemed like it was the only way to actually make people pay. We're just going to shame the fuck out of these people because the government's not going to do anything. Cops aren't going to do anything. This is the only way we can get justice. So I was very on board with it. I thought it was pretty great. And so I was part of the mob sometimes, depending on who it was. Other times, I would just kind of waiting around and see him, be like, oh, that seems very out of character for that person. Let me check. But I did pick and choose. I will never say that I handled it, properly every time, because I do think there is some bias, especially on the internet. I think people can just become that mob mentality really quickly. And if you guys want to read, I don't know if you like reading or not. There's a fantastic book by I think is the guy's name Ron. Oh, it's Ron something. But the book is called So You've Been Publicly Shamed. And the author's name, I believe, is Ron. I forget his last name. I think it starts with an S. But that book is fantastic because it'll give you a very interesting perspective on cancel culture. because he talks to a lot of people that were publicly shamed on Twitter or in the world or whatever, and he goes through their lives and how like they never really escape it, but some people were also publicly shamed and it wasn't necessary, or they were the wrong person or something like that. And it's very interesting how like it basically destroys these people's lives. Like they have to go into hiding at some point, and it's nuts. And you don't ever really think about that when you got your Twitter fingers trying to like talk bad about somebody. You don't think about like what you're doing, even if you don't have all the information with it, right? And so the book is a fantastic read or listen if you want to do audiobooks. I highly, highly suggest anybody go read that if you have any interest in cancel culture or you just want to get different perspective on it, because I do think people need perspective when it comes to this. And so, yeah, so that's what it was. Like, so originally I was somebody that really supported cancel culture. But as the years went on, and, unfortunately, some people that that I admired or whatever, started getting called out, and I'm like, oh, that's terrible. Like, oh, I was a big supporter of that person, and now they're a terrible person. Like, some of your faves were getting outed, right? And it's just like, oh, that sucks. And some of them were true, and some of them weren't true. And, like, that's when I really slowly started opening my eyes, was the, like, okay, this really sucks for those, it was mostly men, that get called out, that get canceled, and then it turns out that it was all a lie. Now, sometimes I've seen it to where one person was lying, but then somebody else comes out and they're like, no, this was actually true. And then they have hardcore evidence to back up the evidence that the other, like, it can be really messy, all right? Like, every story it's uniquely different. But I know that there was always, like, situations where it just seemed like cancel culture was being abused to just cancel somebody that somebody had an issue with or didn't like. And once the evidence finally came out, they were like, this person was lying, and like, oh, look, I got messages and I got evidence and I got all this stuff. It was already too late for the person that had been canceled, and their careers were ruined. And, this is like seeing that start playing out on the internet to some of the people I followed or people I didn't follow but I knew of, and seeing that they never recovered was kind of scary as a YouTuber. I think anybody that's followed my YouTube career for a while knows that I used to make, more risque jokes and stuff like that back on my YouTube. But I mean, I also have been doing YouTube for over 10 years, and everybody was doing that. You know what I mean? Like, we were growing up with the Filthy Franks and all the, the iDubbbz and all that jazz back in the day. So things were very different. Mind you, I will be very honest. I was never near anywhere near Filthy Frank or iDubbbz level. But you know what I mean? Like, just like, more dark humor and stuff like that was very more acceptable back then. And so, that's kind of like what would go, or like I would just kind of do whatever back in the day. Because like I used to, as a lot of people know, I used to dress up like in different wigs and stuff like that and play female characters and all that jazz. And some people may look down on that now. I haven't done that in a really long time, but some people may have offense with it. And so like I started like thinking about stuff like that. I'm like, okay, I was like, people might get upset and blah, blah, blah. I started caring more and like just getting worried about like, is this joke too much? Like, it's funny because I remember, if you remember my old channel, I did this video where I came out as straight because I've had a lot of instances in my life where people thought I was gay. So I just made like a coming out video when coming out videos were like really huge, right? Everybody thought like on YouTube, if you had a coming out video, like this is magical, this is amazing, like it's so great, people are starting to be themselves. And so before I made that video, I reached out to one of my gay friends and I was like, hey, I'm gonna make this video, would it piss you off? And they were like, no, but I actually really appreciate that you reached out. And so, like, I reached out to somebody in the community and got their kind of essentially blessing, right? Knowing that that's, I might piss somebody else off with that. But I remember making that video and some people were really shocked because they thought I was going to come out as gay. And I came out as straight. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't even remember what I say in that video after. But I just remember that was the gag, right? But yeah, so I was very like conscious about it because I'm like, look, I've been talking about this in therapy, but like part of me doesn't like to inconvenience people or want to purposely make people feel bad. I do think there are instances where people are just going to get their feelings hurt, and like it's going to happen, especially if it comes to like business decisions or stuff that like this has to get done and I can't take your feelings into it. This is betterment for the team or whatever. There's just those kind of situations that happen. But for the most part, I don't want to willingly hurt somebody. But I did start realizing over time that was kind of stunting my creative freedom at times, because I was constantly worrying if a joke or the way I dressed or the way I did something was going to possibly get me canceled. And I think this is a big fear for a lot of people. And I've seen, I think Dr. K talks about this. I want to say I've seen a video or two where he's talked to other creators that have a fear of getting canceled. And a lot of people, I hate the backlash from this. There's like a big group of people who be like, well, don't do anything that'll get you canceled. Like if you're not weird or you're not doing anything bad, like you're not going to get canceled. And it's not that simple. It's not that simple. It's not that black and white, because what you think is cancelable is not cancelable with somebody else. And I think we're seeing that nowadays, right? Like you're starting to see comedy take a lot more risks now, where in the last like 5 to 10 years, comedy was like, okay, we're not going to tell some of these jokes that come off as offensive or whatever. I think comedy's coming back and being like, man, fuck y'all, like, whatever. And personally, I never take seriously, so I've never had an issue with it, but that's been a big thing, right? Like there was like the Dave Chappelle and the trans stuff, and like, anybody that's going to Joe Rogan's comedy club right now, like you can see and pick fights with all of that. But like, I think you're starting to see this push and pull right now with that. But I do think that a lot of people have that kind of anxiety of like, am I going to say something that is going to get me canceled or offend somebody or whatever? And it really stunts your growth and stuff like that. I think it stunts your creativity, or at least gives you anxiety when it comes to creativity. And it's because it's not like the issue with canceling is it's not like one thing. It's not like, hey man, that's wrong, you shouldn't do that, and then you have the ability to learn from it. No, it's a mob mentality of all of these people just being like, you're terrible, you should die, blah, 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 blah. And that just like is crazy. Like it is a crazy thing. Like we don't allow people to make mistakes anymore. And granted, I do find it funny that, like, everybody still kind of gets canceled for, like, the N-word and stuff, right? Like, for that, right? And it's weird that people still haven't learned just to not say it. You know what I mean? I do find that funny, because I remember being in middle school and knowing that word was bad before the internet was even a thing, and I just don't know how the rest of the world doesn't know that, or at least in America. And so I'm like, how have y'all fucking not learned this, children? Like, come on. Like, what is going on? How are people still getting, like, in trouble for that? Because, again, we just knew it was something you don't say when I was young. So it blows my mind when people are getting canceled for that. So that one I can't defend. Like, cancel culture going to come after you for that one. It is what it is. But for the most part, like, other things that, like, I'll talk about my example in a little bit when I had a lot of arrogance, ignorance, probably the right word. I didn't know something and I got canceled for it. And so that was kind of different. So yeah, my idea on cancel culture was I was starting to open my eyes a little bit on seeing the dark side of it. I was always on the positive side, but then I was like, oh man, people are getting like caught in the crossfires and losing their careers, and they can't come back from it because nobody wants to touch them. It's like they have the plague. And it was very unfortunate, especially if somebody's built their whole life, like spent their whole life building that career, and somebody was able to lie and, change that perspective of that, or that perception of that person. Because the problem is, even if the truth comes out, there are people that are just never going to read or see anything that has to do with that creator because he was shamed at one point, and they're going to be like, oh, fuck that guy. And they'll never give that person a chance again. And so it doesn't matter. The headline already did its damage, and nobody's going to pay attention after that. So that's really the thing that really was starting to stick with me. And then my favorite creator, one of my favorite creators, especially probably favorite female creator on YouTube, Jenna Marbles got canceled, and that's when I was done. And I want to say that happened before I got canceled, because I think that's when I was like, I am so done with cancel culture, because that's when I realized people didn't care who you were now, today, in the last 5 years, they only cared if you did something bad. And that's exactly what happened with Jenna Marbles, because back in the day, she had made a song and it had some stereotypes in it. Everybody did stereotypical comment if they were like making parodies or all that jazz back in the day. Trust me, it was all over YouTube. But because cancel culture was like, we need somebody new today, they finally went after Jenna Marbles, and they went after her for that kind of thing. If I'm not mistaken, everybody in that video was consenting adults. They decided to be in that video. They decided to participate in it. And yeah, you can argue that that was tasteless or classless or whatever. That's totally fine. Again, it was acceptable during that time, but, you know, people wanted to make sure that, you know, we shunned her for her doing that. And, you know, you can also point to, like, people like James Gunn got shunned for it, and he was able to actually make a comeback, but I think it's a little different in Hollywood. A lot of people come back from crazy things in Hollywood. But yeah, with Jenna Marbles, that's when I was just, like, officially done, because I have met Jenna Marbles multiple times, and she is the sweetest fucking person. Like, for being somebody of her popularity at the time, especially, to see how sweet she's been, and, like, she remembered me, which was crazy. So that just blew my mind. There was no reason that she should have remembered me ever. And that just like made like a really big impact on me, because she just felt different from other creators, and she was a sweet soul, and she was taking in dogs, and like her videos were a lot of just about being fun. Like, she never took sponsors and shit. Like, it was weird to me that nobody considered the person she's been for the last 5 years. They only cared that she made that one video. And that really pissed me off. And I was like, I don't think I could support this anymore, because it is just witch hunts at this point. It doesn't, like, you could have done something 10 years ago and you got to pay for it now. And so that's when I really jumped off the train. So with that, again, I don't know if I got canceled before or after Jenna Marbles. I don't know how long it's been. I got canceled during COVID. I don't know if she was gone. I feel like she was making content during COVID. So I actually got, oh man, when did I get canceled? I don't even remember the date, to be honest. But it was definitely after I was having panic attacks and stuff. But anyways, my dumbass, and I've talked about this before on stream, so if you're like, where's the stuff or whatever, the videos are no longer up, not because I'm like, I don't want people to know what I did, like I want to hide it all. It was nothing like that. I deleted all my TikToks. That's why it's gone. I didn't post these videos anywhere else. But anyways, long story short, because I don't want to go into the whole thing, I made a video about pronouns, and that is something that you can get, it's a very hot topic. So here's the thing. When it comes to TikTok, the formula I found out that worked on TikTok to get you views was you made somewhat of a, not controversial video, but you asked a question that could be debated. And that way your comment section like filled up and people were like, no, I agree or I disagree. And if you asked a question that was, I guess, a bit combative, I guess, because I don't think necessarily every comment was, the questions were controversial, but like I made a video about, essentially, there was a video that went viral about Gen Z being the best generation. They're the most creative. And I was like, hello, every generation just takes from the previous generation, and every generation walks, does stuff so, like, you know, they walk so you can run. And that video popped off. I think it was like my highest video at the time. I think it was like 300, 400,000. And dude, that was coming. Like it was Gen Z versus millennials and all this jazz, and it was crazy. That video popped off. And it's because I had, you know, I don't know, whatever the question is, but there was like a debatable topic there, right? And I was like, oh, this is the way you can grow on TikTok. This was before I knew how toxic TikTok was. And then I ended up making another video about a creator who was getting canceled for like DMs that came out that, you know, she was saying the N-word or all this stuff like that, or they were saying the N-word. Then again, this is weird. It was about the creator Only JS. And in that video, JS had pronouns in their things, but it was like she, they, I don't care, IDC or whatever. And I was like, IDC, I was like, interesting. And I was like, because at that point I was very ignorant when it came to pronouns. And I was like, IDC, that has to stand for I don't care. There's nothing else that stands for. And So I make this video about JS, just kind of like talking about like why she's getting canceled or whatever. And then somebody leaves the comment, oh, hey, just so you know, their pronouns are they, them. And I stupidly took that comment and I was like, I can make a video out of this by saying like, I did that on purpose. And that'll lead me to be able to have a conversation about pronouns. Because that's what I was genuinely trying to do. I did it poorly. I will say that. Again, in ignorance, I did it very poorly. But I was like, this will start a conversation. Because I've always said I love asking dumb questions. I love it. Because a lot of people are scared to ask dumb questions. But I think dumb questions are the way we learn. So I had a dumb question. I was like, if somebody because, everybody, the topic at the time was like pronouns and all that jazz, like, this is what you should do. It's very important. Everybody should get on board with this. And I was like, okay, if somebody with pronouns like came after me and starts like hurling racial slurs at me, I was like, is it okay for me to not use their pronouns anymore? And the reason why I said this, and this is why I fucking hate Google, well, we're on YouTube right now, but go fuck yourself for this. I typed in Google, I was like, why are pronouns important? Or what is important about pronouns? Or like, what are pronouns essentially? And Google, the top result, said that they were a sign of respect. Didn't really say anything about like identity and all of this jazz. The main way it was laid out was like, you should use pronouns because it's a sign of respect. I honed in on the respect thing. I was like, it's like, holding the door open for somebody. It's telling somebody hi if they tell you hi. Like, it's just a respectful thing to do. I can see that. Somebody believes that they are a particular sex, gender, whatever, and, you should do that because it's a respectful thing to do. And I was like, I'm down with that. And so I was like, it's a respect thing. I was like, it would be disrespectful to say slurs, right, to somebody. So I put this question out there, and it blows up in my face. It was crazy. And I was just like, and remember, I'm like dealing with anxiety at this time. So like seeing this explode was nuts. And I'm seeing this like happen in real time because I'm like, oh shit, I didn't think this was gonna like blow up the way it did. And I thought it was just going to be like a debate, right? I'm like, and I thought I was going to learn something from it. I definitely learned something from it, I'll tell you that much. And so when that was blowing up and like, dude, the comments were vile. It was so vile. It was like, go fuck yourself, you should die, kill yourself, like you're a transphobe and blah, blah, blah. Like all of this shit, which was the most wild stuff to be called a transphobe because one of my better friends at the time was literally transitioning. And I was like, they were like my hairdresser. And I was just like, okay, I was like, y'all don't even fucking know me, but I'm apparently a transphobe and all this stuff. So I reached out to that friend. And I was like, hey, I made this video. I was like, I'm getting shit for it. I was like, can you watch it and then let me know what you think? And, they watched it and they were like, hey, it does look kind of bad. I know where you were coming from. And I get, I don't think it was, they basically were like, I can see why people are pissed. But at the same time, I know who you are. I mean, I get what you were trying to get at. It could have been done better. And so, like, that's what I'm learning. I'm like, all right, cool. And so I was like, all right, I talked to somebody, because that's what they say. You should talk to people in the community. And that's what some people were telling me. They're like, you need to talk to more people in the community and blah, blah. So I started doing that. Like, the one thing people didn't realize, because I made a bunch of, like, videos after that, weren't apologies, by the way. They were like just admitting mistake because I think some people in this world, I think apologies have been so blown out of the water. Like apologies are kind of worthless nowadays. I think when you apologize, it's because you are genuinely sorry. I think I was just ignorant and I didn't know better. Because I still wanted to know the question, I still I thought that was the thing I was doing. I was trying to start a conversation. But I admitted to fault. I was just like, I should have done this better. Blah, blah, blah. And so that's what I told my friend. And then, I told my friend I made this response video, and they're like, no, it's a good response. Like, you're not walking back what you said. You're owning it. and you explained what you tried to do, and you admitted that you spoke with somebody. Wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. I think I made another 2 follow-up videos, and everything I did everything what people told me. I was talking to so many people in the DMs, like, dude, it was crazy. And I was talking to people in the DMs, I was talking to people in comments, and I was starting to see people like defend me, and it was crazy because if there were people in the community that saw what I was trying to get at, and they were like, hey, just to let you know, like, I get what you were trying to say, but this is why it's harmful, and, it's good that blah, blah. And in my follow-up videos, some people were thanking me that they were like, yay, I'm glad you learned from this, and blah, blah. So there were good people out there that were, like, trying to be like, at least you're trying to learn from this. Everybody started shitting on those people and they're like, you're a pick me and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what the fuck? So it was crazy. Like, I was toxic. Like, anybody that tried to defend me at all was also a transphobe or terrible or crazy. It was nuts. Like, it was one of the most insane experiences, to the point where I had to delete TikTok. I was like, I'm deleting it off my phone. I wasn't going to delete I had told myself, and this is why the video stayed up for like years. I was like, I'm not going to delete these videos because I know they can be taken out of context, and I have to leave all of them up because people were starting to like screenshot it and like, make their own TikTok responses and all that jazz, because I guess at the time I didn't have you couldn't do it. I don't know if it was like TikTok didn't allow you to do it to 3-minute video. There's something weird that people couldn't shuffle my video or respond to it directly. And so there's a bunch of screenshots out there of it, I assume. And so I was like, oh, I have to leave them up for context now. And like, I can't delete them. And so, yeah, it was insanity, man. It was crazy. And, yeah, I don't know. Like, it made obviously my anxiety way worse. I was just like, holy shit. And like, I just didn't know what to do, because I was just like, dude, you're talking to somebody who like has read comics and reviews comics, and everybody's like, dude, comic book nerds are the worst, and Star Wars fans are the worst, and all this kind of stuff. I don't think in the whole time I was talking shit about comics or talking shit about shows, I don't think anybody once in the comic book community told me to kill myself. So it was so shocking when the LGBTQ community was telling me to kill myself. I was like, holy shit. And it was wild. And it made me think. I was like, I get why assholes and people that get canceled don't give a shit. Because even if they tried to be better, it doesn't matter. Like, I did everything that they say you should do, right? Now, granted, because I didn't say, I guess, the words, I'm sorry, maybe that's what people were upset by. I don't think that was gonna help at all. And again, I would have been lying. Like, do you want somebody to lie? You know what I mean? I admitted fault. I admitted that I should have handled the situation better. I admitted that, like, it was approached terribly and I was ignorant. But it wasn't good enough. And I think that's, like, it made me really think. I was like, oh, this is why when people get canceled, they just keep doing what they're doing, because it doesn't matter if they try to be a better person. Because there's going to be a group of people that do not give a fuck. And that was pretty eye-opening for cancel culture. And so yeah, that was my whole foray into that. I still do think that, like, I mean, I've kind of fallen off it completely now, because I don't think people even bother to do research. I mean, go look at those MrBeast videos I did. I am not a fan of MrBeast or Logan Paul or, I mean, KSI, he is what he is. Terrible music, but I don't think he's done too many things that I would be really upset about. And at least he does seem to try to do cool stuff for, like, charity and whatnot. But for the most part, those guys, like, I don't want to ever defend them, but I saw so many people just lying about MrBeast, and that's what that guy Dogpack was doing for so long. And I just hate misinformation or people that don't try to find out the real thing that happened. And that's why I started making those videos and going in depth and showing you the proof and showing, like, this is a lie, this is the truth, and blah, blah, blah. And even then, people didn't give a fuck. If people hated MrBeast, they were still going to hate him no matter how much evidence I gave. And if they wanted to see, if they supported MrBeast, they were going to believe anything. They weren't going to believe anything that was a lie. Like, it was just like, that was probably part of the mental breakdown that happened too back in November too, because I was just realizing, I was like, I was going to make this massive expose on Logan Paul, and I'm like, it's not going to do anything. Like, it's not going to get anywhere. And so why you don't see that kind of content on my channel anymore is because talking about other people like that is not going to get anywhere. It's not going to benefit anybody. And the only thing that would really benefit, I feel like these vlogs, even though they're not being watched like those other, like the MrBeast and stuff content would be, like, you'd get more benefit from these vlogs that I'm doing than anything. Because at least there's a life lesson there. There's something that I went through or an experience that you could not, like, you can be, like, aware of. That, like, oh, shit, that really happened, or stuff goes through like that. So, yeah, like, that was the biggest eye-opening thing about cancel culture. So, like, today, when I see it, obviously, it doesn't seem like anybody gets canceled anymore. I mean, look at me. If you just look at the American politics, like that, we hired somebody that got canceled 1 million times. Okay, so my battery died, but yeah, so like I was saying, when it comes to cancel culture, you know, somebody got canceled 1 million times over and became president of the United States. So I think cancel culture is pretty much dead. Like, it doesn't matter. Or what I should say is, I think it only matters to people at a certain level. Like, obviously, I got canceled, but I'm fucking mincemeat. Nobody cares. Like, I'm pretty sure even people that made, like, what if they did make videos? I don't even know if they're still up. They probably got deleted. I mean, TikTok deletes everybody's accounts all the time. If those videos are still there, whatever, those people probably don't even care anymore, because it's been like 4 or 5 years now, I think. It feels like that. Yeah, it's probably, three or 4 years already. I don't know when exactly it happened, but it definitely happened like after my panic attack. So it definitely happened within the last 4 years. And so, like, it's been years. People probably don't even care, right? Nobody cares about me. What do I have to be taken away from, right? I don't even, like, my videos don't really get viewed anymore, all that kind of jazz. And if it were to pop up in the future, like if somebody 5 years from now is all like, oh yeah, remember that one time you did that thing? I'm just going to be like, yeah, it was stupid, and I've talked about it 1 million times. And I think at some point, I think that people are just like, yeah, everybody's kind of been through that. Like, the dude learned. Like, can we judge him off of what he does now? That's what I'm hoping people will do. But I do think people live in constant fear now. But I can say, as someone who has been mini canceled, I don't really care now. Like, I'm just going to kind of just do my own thing because I've been through it. And I'm just like, all right, you know, there are going to be people that always remember me as that person. Dude, I can go out and I could probably, like, save the fucking universe. Like, I could save, like, global warming, and there are people that are still gonna remember, like, is that the guy that made that video about pronouns? Oh my god, like, fuck that guy, he should kill himself. And that's crazy to me. Like, it's so crazy that that is gonna be some lasting people's opinions of me. And it is what it is, you know? You accept it and you move on. It's all you can do. You cannot control what people think about you. And I'll be having a video come out pretty soon that is a lot more lighthearted than this, I will say that. But it is kind of like, just, I think what I've been learning recently is not to care as much and to, like, not worry about what other people are thinking. Because at the end of the day, even, like, I know we want justice, I know we want people to be better, but I don't know if you make people better by shaming them. Like, I genuinely don't know if that's the case. I get why we do it with bigger people, like, but I think there's better ways to go about it than, like, these publicly shamings where you don't even allow the people to talk, and, like, everybody has to respond, like, that millisecond the news comes out, and, like, if you take your time to give your response, that's, like, terrible. Like, oh, what, you can't respond right away? And it's like, dude, have you ever, like, been in a situation that literally, like, rocks you to your core, and then you want to go, like, give a speech? Like, you have to say all the right information. It's like, dude, let people process shit. Especially if those people don't, like, here's the thing. This is the one thing I've said. I've definitely talked about this on a live stream before. But it always feels like, if, let's say we take two people, right? We have a toxic relationship. And whoever comes out first is gonna look the best, no matter what evidence there is at all. So, like, if you have a guy and a girl that were in toxic relationships, like, I mentioned this, like, when I was younger, when I was dating somebody for 5 years, we were both pretty toxic. I was pretty controlling, and she was very, like, She liked to, like, literally piss me off and say terrible things. Like, she once told me that, like, I like to piss you off just for fun. And I'm just like, dude, that's terrible. And I was controlling because, like, I was trying to keep her from, like, doing drugs and stuff like that. And it was a terrible relationship. I've spoke about this a million times on my live streams. And, you know, if she were to come out and be like, oh yeah, he was terrible and he was controlling and he was this and that and blah, blah, and people would be like, oh my God, Juice is a bad guy. He's terrible. But then if I were to tell you, like, oh, dude, I tried to help her through this, this, and this, and there was all of this other stuff going on, because that's what people do. They always make themselves look good to make somebody else look bad. I would be the one paying for all of it. And, like, people would always remember, like, oh yeah, that's that guy that's terrible and blah, blah, blah. That's why I tell everybody, like, dude, do not believe headlines. Like, always do your research. Don't ever believe the first thing you hear, and actually put in the fucking work before you judge somebody. Because I think it's, people kill themselves over this stuff nowadays. And I don't think people care about that. People are just like, nah, fuck that guy, fuck him, I don't care what's happening. And then they automatically will just join the mob, and they don't think about, like, what their little tweets or whatever are going to do somebody. And look, you can probably go to my Twitter or something like that. You'll probably find random comments of me doing this. I am not clean in this. I have definitely tried to get away from it before, but I'll still shoot off a tweet about MrBeast or Logan Paul doing some dumb shit here and there. It's just, you know, I'm stupid, just like everybody else. But I definitely try to refrain from it big time. And I also usually just try to keep it to people that are constant offenders. When it's something like random or brand new of somebody I don't really know about, I'm like, what did they do? Like, let me go find out. That's kind of what I did with, like, you know, Kai Cenat and a lot of the new streamers that are coming out. Like, they were headlines. I'm like, let me go see what this is. Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's not. But I'm also learning just not to comment on shit. I'm sure I'll have a video about something else in the future when it comes to opinions. That's a whole different topic. But I felt like I wanted to talk about cancel culture first, because as being somebody who's lived through it and experienced it, I feel like it's a different thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, so there's that. I don't really think cancel culture works anymore. I think it worked at a time. But nowadays, I feel like if you got a big enough audience, you can't be canceled. So, and I think a lot of people feel that way too. But anyways, I don't know if people like these rambly long vlogs, if they matter or not. But yeah, anyways, also, I hope, because I know a lot of you are probably going to be like, oh man, I want to know what Juice did. I tell you, if you go try to find those videos that I made on TikTok, I don't know if they'll pop up fast or not. But definitely there's a lot of context that you're going to be missing, because my videos aren't there anymore. So yeah, if you're going to go search for that, just know you're going to miss some context. But hopefully you're not going to be one of those people that just judges me off of base that one thing. But hey, at the same time, I can't control your thoughts. You do you. But I also haven't used TikTok in like 2 or 3 years. It feels like. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for this Vita vlog. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.